This is Lori Clairhout at loriclairhout.com, and I'm talking to Pamella Heikel from lsed.ca. I got it.
Uh,
How are you, Pam?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you.
Good, good. I am curious. I'm curious about whims, and I'd like to talk to you about them because I know we've kind of touched on it in the past a little bit, where whims
hmm
sit. So I'll just start. What are whims to you?
I was thinking about this all day, and so we'll see if it comes out the way in which I was thinking about it. Doubtful, but it'll come out the way that it needs to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Whims for me are part of my everyday. I don't see a whim as something unusual or an idea or an occurrence that might be out of the box, out of the norm, or something that might be perceived as risk taking.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I was thinking about it today, and I had this amazing meditation at the Stollery Hospital, and only one person showed up, a man that I met a couple of weeks ago who's going through, well, he's actually in remission with cancer, and he's been exploring all avenues of meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And so, him and I sat for 30 minutes and meditated.
Wow.
And it was so beautiful. And so during that meditation, and when I came out, I thought to myself, um, people mostly will say a whim is something that just kind of came into them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at that moment, at that time, of course the phone has to ring, at that
Sadly.
moment, at that time, that they picked up on that little nugget of inspiration and they decided to act on it. But I believe that that is how we're guided every second and every minute of
Mm.
our daily life. But we are so disengaged and so distracted by everything around us that we're not always connected or plugged in internally to know that these whims
Mm-hmm.
are being received all the time. All the time.
Ah, I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. And now, having realized that, what happens? What happens when we do plug in, or how do we plug in? How does that work for
Mm,
you?
oh gosh. For me, how does that work for me? I think one of my biggest lessons of this year
Mhm.
is routine.
Oh,
And it's such a dirty word for me. I absolutely hate routine.
yeah.
My parents didn't teach it to me. I didn't pick it up through school. Just being a curious kid, I
Mm-hmm.
explored everything but never stuck with one thing long enough to develop a routine, right? But
Mm-hmm.
then someone had reframed it to me and said, in routine, there's freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, because I mean, the reality is in our life, if we want to survive,
Mm-hmm.
there's things that we need to do and be committed to and be responsible and be engaged in so that we can actually live our life and be happy and healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with routine comes for me the idea of meditation, and that can be so different for everyone. But I think if I were to distill that,
Mm-hmm.
it's the ability to get quiet. So, whether that is walking, grocery shopping, crocheting,
Mm-hmm.
running, sitting,
Yeah. Yeah.
writing, I think a lot of people are calling that mindfulness as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we need to practice that.
True.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that that's sort of what was happening with your meditation friend at the Stollery that day? Do you believe that
Mhm.
there was like kind of quietness happening, or what did happen?
There was lots of quietness that I did find myself kind of coming in and out of something,
Mm-hmm.
right? In the meditation world, they call that the gap. It's that 1 or 2 second space between our thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got about 80,000 to 120,000 thoughts a day, and we might not be aware of them, but our body certainly is, and it's firing and reacting all
Right.
day long, even when we're sleeping. And so being quiet is when we can slip into that gap. And when we slip into that gap, that's when we're receiving.
Oh,
Well, let me say that again. That's when we know we are receiving.
right.
Yeah.
And that's when the moments that some of us might call a whim that we think comes from
Yeah.
nowhere,
Yeah.
are we're actually enabling that to happen for us.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
clearing the space and switching on the light and kind of plugging in, right?
mm-hmm.
And realizing, right, okay, it's not the crazy voice in my head, right?
It's true. Yeah.
I'm being divinely guided, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm being sent a message,
Mm-hmm.
or it's this program that's always been running in the background, but
Mm-hmm.
I've just never turned down the outside volume enough to hear it playing.
I love that, Pam. That is
Yeah,
so
yeah,
both beautiful and eloquent.
yeah.
And with
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
oh, thank
yeah.
you.
Thank you.
I'd love to talk about this again sometime.
We will.
I think we've just,
Well,
it feels like we just barely scratched the surface
barely.
of how
Yeah.
whims work, or how even the word works, because the word doesn't work that well all the time. And
Hmm.
maybe next time. Ah,
You'll come up with a new word.
it's possible. It might be you and me
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Thank you
Maybe,
so much,
maybe.
Pamela.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.